Yeah,
But we're talking movies still, aren't we?
Yeah, well, speaking of which, and just before we get into calls on 96900 693, many years ago, I don't recall how the conversation started, but we were talking movies or something, and a gentleman rang in by the name of Glenn Triggs.
Yeah.
And it was back in about 2005, and he was a young movie maker at the time. And I thought that was quite interesting at the time. Didn't think anything of it until years later when I actually saw one of Glenn's movies.
Okay.
And he's made contact with us because he's doing another one. Glenn Trigg, hello.
Hello. Yes, it has been a while. How's things?
Now, do you recall that first conversation, Glenn, back in 2005?
Yes, I came into the studio and it was about a film I was making called Luna. And, just came in and we chatted about the film for about 20 minutes or so. It was great.
Beautiful. And that was, and Phil and Paul were on air, I think, that night, from memory.
Yes,
Paul Kramer.
from memory, yes. It was going back quite a while, but yes, I think that sounds about right, yeah.
How many movies have you made since then?
I've made about 5 or 6 movies since then, I think. We made a big time travel film in 2012 called 41.
Yes.
Which is the one I think you saw, Simon.
Yes.
Made a film after that, a horror movie called Apocalyptic, in 2014. And now we're on to a family adventure movie called The Comet Kids. And that's, what we're working on at the moment.
Now, generally, I seem to think that your movies have had a sort of a darkish sort of tinge to them, especially the horror movie. But this is the family one you're working on.
Yes, I had made many horror films over my sort of career, I guess. And then my wife said to me, you should really try to make a fun film, a family movie. So that was a challenge, and that was about a year and a half ago. And so we've been working on the script for about that long.
Now, finish. No, go ahead.
Yes, we just recently cast the film, and we start filming in about 2 or 3 weeks. So it's all happening.
How exciting! 2 questions I want to ask you: where the funding comes from for your movies, what sort of budget you have, but also where do they get shown? Where do they get screened?
Well, it's always different for every film. 41 was screened in the States at a lot of festivals, and it had a small cinema release. And Apocalyptic was picked up by a company in Australia called Monster Pictures, so that's been released on DVD. You can go get that at JB Hi-Fi right now, so that's around.
Fantastic.
And the hopes for the Comet Kids is kind of the same sort of thing. We're hoping for a cinema release. We've got a very small budget. We're making it independently, but I think the result will be great, so that's the hope.
Would you ever submit one of your movies?
It's worth a shot. I think when we made 41, that won a festival that was part of the Oscars for its short film festival. So we've come sort of close to some degree, but yeah, definitely an Oscar would be that's the height of all things, I guess. So yeah.
So what's the basic plot with the Comet Kids, the one you're about to start filming?
Yeah, so I'll give you the synopsis. It's basically in order to protect his father's discovery, Lucas and his 5 friends go on the adventure of a lifetime to find a piece of a passing comet that lands near their hometown. So that's kind of it. It's just a big adventure movie. A bunch of kids, travel around in the 1950s and try to find a piece of this comet that has crash landed. And it's set in present day and also in the 1950s. And those 2 stories are linked by the comet because the comet circles and comes back every 74 years.
Okay.
So, it's going to be a really fun, very PG-rated, fun adventure movie that the whole family can see.
I imagine it would be difficult to film scenes set in the 1950s.
It can be. We've got a lot of vintage and classic cars involved. We're going to be shooting up in Beechworth for a day, so they're going to close off the streets for us up there. And it is definitely a challenge, but it's definitely it's achievable for sure. It's not too difficult.
And you can't have things like a widescreen telly wall-mounted in a shot or any of that sort of thing.
No, we've got to be very careful what's in the shot. So with the cast that we've got, some of your listeners might even know some of the people that we've got in the film. We've got Reg Gorman, who was in the Sullivans and Matlock back in the day.
Yeah, legend.
And also Marty Roan is playing one of our bad guys. He had a hit song in 1975 called Denim and Lace.
Yes, know him.
And also Tyriel Mora, who was Dennis Denuto in The Castle, which you might remember as well.
So the other question I asked you about the funding for a movie like this. Where does the money come from?
At the moment, we started a crowdfunding campaign to sort of raise funds, and that's still active at the moment. And that's through a company called Indiegogo, so people can just get on and donate money if they like, and they can get copies of the film and T-shirts and soundtracks and all things like that. and that's on our Facebook page. So if anyone wants to, get involved with the film, they can go to facebook.com/the Comet Kids, and all the information's there.
I'll put a link on our Facebook page so people don't have to search too hard to find it. And so you can buy, you can like I did this with 41 because I was quite interested in it. You pre-buy a copy of the DVD even before you've made the film, so that you're helping to support you guys in funding the film, and then you get something in return for it later on.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's a great new sort of initiative that I guess the internet's sort of come up with in the past 10 years. Yeah, crowdfunding, and a lot of independent films are doing that, and even bigger budget movies are actually using crowdfunding these days. So it's quite interesting.
Glenn, do you get any government support?
We've applied a couple of times. We haven't got anything yet, but we're getting close with this particular film, which is good. So fingers crossed. We've still got a few months to get everything submitted. So that's the hope, but we always plan for, I guess, the worst case scenario with independent cinema, and try to make it as best as we can for as little money as we can, I guess.
Do you watch, as a movie maker, do you watch other movies and think, I shouldn't have done that scene that way, or should have had a different camera angle on that shot?
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, making films has sort of ruined a lot of movies for me, and they usually have to be quite a good film, but it does happen, which is great. But the majority of the time, I tend to pick things apart and, notice when something's out of focus, or with, a story didn't go the way that I thought it should have, and all that sort of thing. So, it sort of ruined movies for me a little bit, but it's not too bad.
Beautiful. All right, we'll let you go. We've got to fly because we've got to take a break, but it's good to catch up with you again. When the movie is released, let us know, and we'll have a chat to you about it then too.
Yes, I'll just quickly say hi to my Nana. She's listening right now, and I'm sure she's a huge fan of the show, so I told her I'll say hello to her quickly.
Oh, well, hang on, let's take an extra minute here. What's Nana's name?
Jean Fessinger is her name. She's turning 90 years old this year, and she's a huge fan of your show, listens to it every night. So,
Thank you. Hi, Jean, from Simon, Bruce, and Phil, and Andy.
What suburb is she in?
She's in Mitcham.
Jean of Mitcham. Yeah. Lovely.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Good on you, Jean. Happy 90th later on this year.
And Glenn, on the law of averages, if we don't hear from you when this new movie is released, we'll talk to you again in 2025.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Good on you, Glenn. Glenn Trigg, movie maker from